Hey, so um, I've been seeing a lot of people who really still want to affect change, want to get involved, and want to be part of what's going on, but if they can't protest, they don't want to protest. Maybe they have a disability, maybe they're concerned about the pandemic, or they have an employer that would not be supportive of it. There are still so many ways you can get involved that don't involve protesting. Um, Always remember money talks. When you're supporting a company that is supporting ideologies that are directly opposed to yours, you are still supporting those ideologies. You might not hold those ideologies, but you're still supporting them. So look at where you're spending your money. Look at where they're spending their money. And if they're spending money on things that you are fundamentally opposed to, don't spend your money there. I know that comes from a place of privilege. It does, because I know that not everybody has that choice. Some places you are very limited in where your money goes. But when you have the opportunity, small restaurants, local diners, especially places owned by minorities, people with disabilities, the LGBT plus community, owned by the people who are underprivileged and have less opportunities than you do, it makes a huge difference in their lives and in their communities, which are your communities. Um, Another thing you can do is you can shop thrift. Thrifting is so much cheaper to start with. It's so much better for the environment. And I know at least locally where I'm at, we have multiple thrift stores that donate to causes like the YWCA Women's Shelter, the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center, at-risk youth programs. A lot of these thrift stores are nonprofit and donate to fantastic causes. Remember though, again, some of these larger thrift stores may not do that. Some of these larger thrift stores may have problematic ideologies. So again, just always know where they're spending their money. Where does their money go? Does it go into your community? Does it go into something you don't want it to? Um, Banking is another one. A lot of these huge banks, they have so many problems. There's really big banks. I'm not going to directly name banks. You can do your own research. But there's a lot of banks who supported the um, the North Dakota pipeline, the pipeline that so many people were protesting and against. People came from all over the country, all over the world actually, to protest. I had the privilege of being able to go out to that protest. It was amazing the experience I had out there, the people that I got to meet out there. But while people were actively trying to shut down the pipeline, prevent it from being built across indigenous sacred lands, some banks were spending millions and at times billions of dollars to keep the project moving forward. Look at your community banks. I know in my community, we have fantastic small banks that support the community, that put their money back into the community, that help people within the community and help there to be better opportunities for people who may not have them otherwise. So again, with the banking, that's a big one. Plus, a lot of the smaller banks may not carry the same fees as the bigger banks. There's a lot of smaller banks, the bank I'm at especially, they refund ATM fees. Like, you don't have to pay a fee for an ATM. How cool is that? So, just like looking at the fee structure even is reason enough, even if atrocities and egregious acts committed by other banks isn't enough to make you make the switch. Just again, do your research, look into things like that. Um, there's a lot of small town bookstores, bodegas, little family owned places that most of the time are cheaper anyways. Most of the time, not only are you spending your money on something that you believe in, you're spending your money on something that you get to spend less of it on, which is very helpful. Again, I know not everybody has those opportunities. Again, I know I'm coming from a point of privilege with that. I know myself, just a couple of years ago, I had a budget that was Walmart or the thrift store. And that was it. I didn't have the ability to shop at smaller businesses as much as I do now. Um, and just remember, the more money we take out of the pockets of the establishment and the oppressors and companies that actively support those things, the more money we put towards the things we believe in. The less money they have, the less power they have to manipulate us, the less power they have to try to change our views and our beliefs and gear them towards what they want, and the less power they have to further their own agendas. So, again, the more power we take away from the large corporations, the more power we give to our small businesses, which in turn is the more power we give to ourselves. Another option that you can do is create your own garden or look into a community garden. I love gardening personally. I know a lot of people don't have the option to garden because a lot of people don't live in places that you can, but it's a perfect, amazing escape. It's amazing for your mental health, and it's also a really cool idea, especially if you can get involved in a community garden where you can give extras out to people who might need them. And again, especially if you live in a place where Walmart is the only grocery store you have, it gives you an option to go to a different avenue, such as your own, and then you truly know what is in your food if you're growing it yourself. You can't be confused about what's in your food or accidentally eating stuff that you shouldn't be. So, just other options. And even if you can't do any of that, even if none of those are an option for you because of your circumstances, where you're at in life, or whatever the reason is, maybe you're 15 and you don't get to choose where your family goes grocery shopping. Even if that's the case, then there are still ways you can have your voice heard. You can, you can make posters, you can help make masks so that the protesters have masks to wear, you can help get out in the community and maybe collect signatures on a movement that you believe in. You can help even just sharing a Facebook post or a tweet. Even something that seemingly little, if that gains traction and more people see it, even one person sees something that they didn't know about, you're still educating a person who otherwise may not have gotten that same education. There's a Cree Indian poem, philosophy, that says, only after the last tree has been cut down, only after the last river has been poisoned, only after the last fish has been caught, only then will you find that money cannot be eaten. Again, donate to organizations that are trying to better the world. Donate to places that are helping people. If you are not in a position where you can donate yourself, then, trying to go to these small businesses who do donate to those places is helping. Because if they're matching donations or donating on their own, and you're helping keep their doors open so that they can keep helping donate, it's kind of a domino effect. And, there has been so much amazing progress made in under 2 weeks since the death of George Floyd. All over the world, people are really and truly coming together. All 50 states in at least 18 countries have stood up for injustice. We have to keep standing up and being heard. Police officers are resigning. The National Guard laid down their shields. In several states, Confederate statues are being torn down or have plans to be torn down. There are policy changes, huge, massive policy changes that are being made. So we have to remember that even after the protests and even after things seem to go back to normal, because they will, things will feel like they go back to normal someday. Hopefully these changes stay in effect. I really and truly hope they stay in effect, but even after the protesting ends and life returns to some semblance of normalcy, when there's no longer a pandemic, when we're back to our normal lives, we have to remember to still make our voices heard, to still make sure that we are putting our money where we can, still make sure that we are doing anything that we can to affect change. and make sure we keep going forward. Show everybody that we meet love and compassion. And remember that right now, this is the biggest civil rights movement in history. I hope that enough change can be made in this, that maybe this could be the last civil rights movement that we need. I really and truly hope that it could be. And there were some words that I read earlier that were very meaningful to me. Real progress can only be made when both sides see each other as equals and recognizes each other's right to coexist in a peaceful world. Ishaq Hussein said that. If you're not familiar with him, definitely look him up. He was an amazing human being. And then another one is from an oldie but a goodie, Martin Luther King Jr. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects another indirectly. And try to remember that everything you do has that domino effect, that butterfly effect, whatever you want to call it. Every single thing you do, every dime you spend, every person you talk to, every interaction you have, or even don't have, that matters. It matters in the bigger scheme of things. So just remember to show each other love. Remember, to hear each other, see each other, understand each other, listen, act. Do everything that you can to make the world the place you want it to be. Hope you all have a great night.